Alright, we're live, and it is service day, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are new here, the chanting guide should be up in the announcements section. Do feel free to follow along as best you can. My cadence is what it is. Some of you may not be used to it, but it is how I do my chanting, so we're going to roll with that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Anatipata brahmani skaparam samadhyami. Rinnadana brahmani skaparam samadhyami. Kamesu Well, hello there. So, today, some of you who are more regular may have noticed that I did a couple of extra chants today that I don't usually do. So those chants are kind of ways for me to remember the lantern floating that we'll be doing on Monday, and to get myself ready for it. Alright, so the first one was the chant of the Earth Store Bodhisattva, who is, amongst other things, known for his care of travelers, and especially deceased persons. Right, so he's kind of like well, we'll just leave it at he has a lot of play with those who have died, and particularly those who are traveling as well. So, kind of on that vein, I wanted to get myself in that kind of mindset ahead of time. The second one was the mantra of light, which is kind of exclusive to some parts of the esoteric or Vajrayana side of the house, particularly the Japanese Vajrayana. So those were the chants that I did. The mantra of light should make perfect sense given that we were doing a lantern floating. So there's that. Anyway, let's go ahead and move right on into the Dharma reading and Dharma talk. Do feel free to meditate on these or to conduct meditation afterwards on your own time. I'm not going to tell you how long. You guys know better than I do what kind of schedules you're on. So, first of the two passages, and yes, there will be two, and both of them should be relatively short. I'm going to preface this first one with, there is a really violent king in the Buddha's time who was always fighting with everybody else and ended up killing his own father to gain power, to gain the throne. Sounds a lot like Game of Thrones stuff, right? He would totally fit. Like, he would totally be on that path, at least in the beginning of his career. Toward the end, he kind of figured out that what he was doing was really wrong. He probably would have been killed off at that point. But so this is him, this specific king, after he has kind of come around from listening to the Buddha, and this is exactly what he says and what the Buddha says in return. This is a nice little conversation piece from them. I'm not going to read all of it because it's a seriously long piece. We're just getting like the fragment that matters here. Noting that this is in a line of lamps and lanterns, right? Candles, things like that. So, this too, great king, is a fruit of the contemplative life, visible here and now, more excellent than the previous ones and more sublime. As for another visible fruit of the contemplative life, higher and more sublime than this, there is none. Oh, hey, come on. The computer wants to try and stop on me. When this was said, King Ajatasattu, that's his name, said to the Buddha, "Magnificent, Lord, magnificent," just as if he were to place upright what was overturned, to reveal what was hidden, to show the way to one who was lost, or to carry a lamp into the dark, so that those with eyes could see forms. In the same way has the Buddha, through many lines of reasoning, made the Dharma clear. I go to the Buddha for refuge, to the Dharma and to the community of monks. May the Blessed One remember, that is the Buddha, remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge from this day forward. And then it occurs to him, a transgression has come over me, Lord. He's talking to the Buddha again. In that I was so foolish, so muddle-headed, and so unskilled as to kill my own father, a righteous man, a righteous king, for the sake of sovereign rulership. May the Blessed One please accept this confession of my transgression as such, so that I may restrain myself in the future. Yes, great king, a transgression overcame you in that you were so foolish, so muddle-headed, and so unskilled as to kill your own father, a righteous man, a righteous king, for the sake of sovereign rulership. But because you see the transgression as such, and make amends in accordance with the Dharma, We accept your confession, for it is a cause of growth in the Dharma and discipline of the noble ones when, seeing a transgression as such, one makes amends in accordance with the Dhamma and exercises restraint in the future. So that one is King number one talking to the Buddha. And next we have one of the Buddha's early monks who went out and talked to a different king, a very different king. And so this is Nagasena, and the king is King Milinda, and his questions. Right. So the king asked, Venerable Nagasena, what is the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom? Previously, Your Majesty, I said severing is the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. And now, furthermore, illuminating is a distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. How, Venerable Sir, is illuminating the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom? Wisdom arising, Your Majesty, dispels the darkness of ignorance, produces the illumination of insight, brings forth the light of knowledge, and makes manifest the noble truths. And further, the spiritual practitioner sees with complete understanding impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Or, in this translation, corelessness. I don't get where they're coming from on that one. So the king says, give me an analogy. He's not quite understanding it. Just as, Your Majesty, a person might bring a lamp into a dark house, and with the lamp lit, dispel the darkness, produce illumination, show the light, and make manifest forms. So too, Your Majesty, wisdom arising dispels the darkness of ignorance, produces the illumination of insight, brings forth the light of knowledge, and makes manifest the noble truths. And further, the spiritual practitioner sees with complete understanding impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. You're very clever, Venerable Nagasena, says the king. So, those two passages both kind of speak to what light does in Buddhism, right? It's not just a thing that we deal with. It's not just like there, right? It serves a purpose. Light in Buddhism, and yeah, mine are still going. I have candles going. They're just about out though. So light in Buddhism, as Venerable Nagasena is saying, right, is used as a way of helping when your wisdom arises. It dispels the darkness of ignorance, and when light arises, it dispels the darkness. Right. So wisdom and light are very strongly connected here. Right. We're seeing light as a metaphor for wisdom. And so having that lamp that you bring into a house, or that you take with you when you're walking down the road at night. We do this with our cars. We do this. Some of us still do this with like a flashlight or something along those lines as we're walking in the dark. It dispels the darkness, right? It dispels the darkness of the light dispels the darkness, and the wisdom dispels the darkness of ignorance, right? The light produces illumination, and wisdom produces the illumination of insight. So it kind of shines on the inside and says, oh, imagine that, it's right there. Wisdom, where are we? Wisdom brings forth knowledge, and light brings forth knowledge, because you know what's there, you know what's out there. You can see, oh, hey, there's this rock sitting on the road. Maybe I should walk around it. And the light of wisdom does that same thing. Oh, well, there's this obstacle to the path. Maybe I need to walk around it. Maybe I need to travel on my journey around it. And so light is kind of really important in Buddhism. And so when we do our lantern floating on Monday, light is going to be a huge deal, right? Because it's important that we notice this wisdom, that we utilize this connection between our wisdom, right, and the lights that we have lit, right? We are wiser when we acknowledge what's going on. We may not like it, right? We being anybody who's present, may not like the fact that we've lost people, but we haven't. And acknowledging that gives us the ability to have that insight, to have that wisdom, to not necessarily walk away from the um, the pain of loss, but at the very least to know that it's there, right? So that we can work through it, that we can work to get ourselves past it eventually. May not be a quick and easy path, and in fact, in a lot of cases, it's going to be a very, very long path, right? There could be a lot of little bumps on the road, and you may need to be very, very careful, right? There may be a lot of rocks in the path. There may be a lot of struggles to come with somebody who's lost someone, and that's perfectly okay, and that's perfectly normal. Shining the light of wisdom on that and saying, you can grow through this, you can make it through, and we'll help you do so. That's pretty key. That's really, really key to what we're going to be doing. And so I kind of wanted to bring that up as, I don't know, maybe I'm just in a, like a, maybe I'm just in a mood, and I will be so for the next little bit, but that's what I got, right? So that that's where I'm at, and maybe you guys are definitely not there. If so, feel free to just, you know, blow right past me in the comments. Um, and if you have a topic that you'd like me to go over for, say, for next week, for next Thursday, for next service, by all means, bring that up. I'd love to, you know, sit there and I do that on occasion outside of normal services, right? So people will ask me, hey, what do you know, what do you got on this, right? And we'll go through and I'll do some, I'll dig through and really deep dive it and we'll talk about it, right? So if you guys want me to talk about a specific thing and really go into it in some detail, yeah, let me know, right? Because maybe you guys aren't exploring um, the connection between light and wisdom today. Maybe you guys are exploring something totally different. I get that, right? I can't go through and teach everybody everything in a given hour. That's not going to happen, right? That's not reality. But if you guys let me know what you guys are going through, maybe we can work through something. Maybe we can help you guys work through it, right? Because that's what the lanterns are for, to help people remember, to help people honor their loved ones, and to help people in whatever way we can deal a little bit at a time with their grief process and how they're going through that. So main point: light, wisdom, light, wisdom, compassion. There it is. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut the explanation or explanation portion. Do feel free to comment, question. Maybe I brought something up that you guys want answered. Maybe I brought something up you guys didn't understand. Maybe I brought something up that you guys are like, hey, that's totally off. Yeah, go for it. Questions and discussion are awesome. I love them. So let's do that. Let's move into that.